When silence breaks, the heart learns to heal. The house had grown too quiet. It wasn't the soft, comforting quiet that comes after a day well lived. It was the hollow kind, the kind that seeps into the bones and makes even the sound of one's own breath feel intrusive. Margaret sat in her chair by the window, shawl pulled close, staring at the street beyond the glass. Outside, life continued its rush. Children shouted as they darted across yards, backpacks bouncing, laughter spilling into the dusk. Dogs barked in answer to one another, their chains rattling against wooden fences. A car drove past, headlights brushing the houses in a quick sweep of light. Neighbors called out good nights on their porches. Life went on. But inside her home, silence reigned. The kind of silence that pressed against her chest until she could almost hear it thudding like a second heartbeat. Once, this house had held noise, her husband humming as he worked at the table, her son's footsteps racing up the stairs, the creak of doors opening and closing, the clatter of plates from a family meal. Now there was only the ticking of the clock, steady, unyielding, cruel. Margaret told herself this was natural. Children grew, families stretched into their own lives, and mothers became figures remembered in fragments. Still, at night, when the lamp glowed beside her and the chair across from hers sat unbearably empty, she would whisper into the shadows, "Where did I go wrong?" Her son, Michael, had not called in months. Their last words had been sharp, flung across the line like stones. Behind them lay years of strain, small disagreements with his wife that hardened into resentments until even holidays passed without a visit. Once her kitchen had been loud with laughter, arguments, and the warmth of meals shared. Now even her teacup seemed too loud against the saucer. One storm-heavy afternoon, she opened a drawer she had not touched since her husband's passing. Beneath stacks of folded papers and brittle receipts, her fingers brushed against something hard. A cassette tape, worn with time, the label written in her husband's steady hand. For him, someday. Her breath caught. She turned it over, as if the plastic itself might tell her why he had left it. Slowly, with trembling hands, she pulled out the old cassette player, its buttons stiff with disuse, and pressed play. The voice broke her. "Son," her husband said, steady and measured, "if you are hearing this, I am gone. But there are things I need you to know about your mother. She gave more than you saw. She loved more than she said. Perhaps she held too tightly. Perhaps she did not let go soon enough, but it was always love. Don't let pride steal what's left. Call her. Please, don't wait until it's too late." Margaret pressed the tape to her chest, tears spilling in a hot rush. Even from the grave, her husband was still trying to mend what had broken. If only he could hear this too, she whispered. Across town, Michael sat in his garage, surrounded by the clutter of a life pulled in too many directions. Tools scattered, bills half opened, the faint smell of oil and dust heavy in the air. He slumped in the chair, weary from work, weary from arguments, weary from the relentless pull of obligations he could never quite meet. Calling his mother had felt impossible. too much weight in the silence, too much pride in the way. That night, rummaging through a box of his father's belongings, Michael found another cassette. The same handwriting marked it, "For my son." His throat tightened. He hesitated, then pressed play. "Michael," came his father's voice, lower now, with a softness that carried both love and warning. "If this reaches you, I am no longer there. But listen to me. Your mother loved you fiercely. You may not see it until you've raised your own. Don't hold on to her mistakes more tightly than her love. Don't let years slip away. Call her. Do not let regret be the only thing left." Michael froze. The words pierced him. He thought of his last call with her, the bitterness in his own voice. He thought of his daughter, asleep upstairs, her small hand reaching for him in the dark. And in that moment, he saw himself repeating the very distance he had once resented as a child. Then another memory surfaced. The letter. Years ago, his wife had written one on a night of exhaustion, words spilling onto the page sharper than she intended. She had accused Margaret of meddling, of judging, of holding on too tightly. She had never meant to send it. It was only a way of releasing frustration she thought would fade. But somehow the page had slipped into the wrong place. Margaret had found it, and though she never spoke of it, the wound cut deep. Not because the words were true, but because they came from someone she had longed to welcome as family. Now, years later, while clearing an old drawer, Michael stumbled on that very letter. His hands shook as he read. One page, written in a storm of stress, had become the root of years of silence. For the first time, he saw how quickly careless words could grow into walls that divided lives. That evening, Margaret sat again in her chair by the window, the cassette beside her teacup. Her hands hovered over the phone. She wanted to call, but fear pinned her. What if he did not answer? What if he did, and no kindness remained? At the same hour, Michael sat with the letter and the tape before him. His phone lay heavy on the table. He reached for it, pulled back, reached again. The minutes dragged like stones dropped into water. Finally, as night settled and the storm outside quieted, he dialed. The ring startled Margaret. Her heart pounded. She lifted the receiver. "Hello?" A pause. Then, "Mom?" Her breath caught. One word, after so many empty months, cracked the silence wide open. Michael's voice trembled. "I found Dad's tape. He wanted me to call you, and he was right. I thought you were controlling, that you judged me. But now, raising my daughter, I see. You were trying to protect me. I didn't understand. I think I do now." Tears blurred her vision. "I never wanted to lose you. I only wanted you safe. Perhaps I held too tightly." The line was quiet, but no longer empty. "I'm sorry," Michael whispered. "I can't fix the years. But I want you to know, I see you. I see what you gave." Their words faltered. broken by long pauses, but beneath them lay something new, the first planks of a bridge. When the call ended, Margaret sat in the dim light, her chest full of a trembling hope. She looked at the photo of her son as a boy, gap-toothed and grinning, and whispered, "Welcome back." That night, she did not sleep. Memories unfurled, her husband's laugh echoing down the hall, the warmth of her son's small hand in hers, the slammed doors of teenage years, the countless meals cooked and shared, the quiet winters after he left. The tide of the past pressed heavy against her. But beneath it ran a new current, one she had not felt in years: possibility. By morning she rose with unusual energy. She baked bread, kneading the dough as if memory itself was shaping under her hands. The smell filled the house, warm and steady. She polished the table, folded the shawl, opened the curtains wide to let the day pour in. She wrapped one loaf carefully, not because she expected him that day, but because she wanted to be ready when he did come. That same morning, Michael sat in his car outside her street, engine idling. His daughter hummed softly in the back seat, clutching her stuffed bear. He had not told her where they were going. His hands gripped the wheel. Fear and shame pressed down like weights. "Daddy, are we going in?" she asked, peeking out the window. Michael swallowed, turned off the engine, and stepped out. Inside, Margaret stood at the window. She saw the car, saw her son, and then saw the small face peeking shyly, a hand waving. Her granddaughter. Her knees weakened. She pressed a hand to the glass. Moments later came the knock. She opened the door. The air was heavy with hesitation. Michael stood, his daughter half hidden. "Hi, Mom," he said softly. She nodded, tears spilling. Then the child whispered, "Grandma?" Margaret bent, arms trembling as she opened them. The girl hesitated, then melted into her embrace. The warmth of that small body unraveled years of silence. Michael watched, eyes wet. He stepped inside, not fully, but enough. The smell of bread wrapped around him, carrying memories he thought were lost. They did not solve everything that day. No grand speeches, no sweeping resolutions. Only a table with bread, a child's laughter, and two adults finding the courage to sit together again. Later, when the house grew quiet once more, Margaret returned to her chair by the window. But the silence had changed. It no longer felt like absence. It felt like waiting, alive, hopeful. She looked at the empty chair across from her and whispered, "It waited long enough." And for the first time in years, she did not feel forgotten. She felt seen. Love does not vanish with years of distance. It lingers in photographs worn soft by touch, in recipes remembered by heart, in the sound of a name whispered with care. It waits in the empty seat across from you, not as absence, but as promise. And sometimes, it comes back in the simplest ways. A phone call, a knock at the door, a child's voice saying "Grandma" for the very first time. So if you are listening tonight, Wondering if you too have been forgotten? The answer is no. You are seen. You are remembered. You are loved still, in ways you may not yet have discovered. All it takes is one word, one gesture, to open the door again. And when it does, may you be ready to let the light in. And here at Silver Simplified, we'll be here too, sharing stories that remind you of love, hope, and second chances. Thank you for listening.